Hey everyone, this is Phenomena from Merlin Sports, and with me today breaking down the AFC West season preview is D-Dog. D-Dog, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm well, Holler. I'm glad it's end of the week, so you can sit back and enjoy.
And get into another weekend of preseason football, see what we think, how things are looking. Hey, speaking of which, we're going to dive into the AFC West in this particular episode, and it stands to be a very competitive division as it was last year. So I'm going to read them out in the order that they finished last year. So of course, the Kansas City Chiefs with a 15-2 record were the top team in the division, followed by the Los Angeles Chargers. I know you want to say San Diego Chargers at 11-6, and the Denver Broncos, who were 10-7, with a great year, finishing third, and then the Las Vegas Raiders at 4-13, bringing up the rear. And let's start with those Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders, and they made a lot of noise in the front office this offseason by well, Tom Brady coming on as one of the shareholders of ownership, and expected he's already taken a more hands-on role, with a lot of decisions in the front office. And also coming in is Pete Carroll. So Pete Carroll comes in after a one-year hiatus. Of course, the former Super Bowl winning head coach of most recently Seattle Seahawks, and a very tenured college coach as well. So things are interesting in Las Vegas. If not, the roster doesn't stand to be that great. And they do bring in Geno Smith from Seattle, so bit of continuity with and familiarity with Pete Carroll. They drafted Ashton Genty, of course, the top running back in NCAA going into the draft. So they're it'll be interesting to see, what kind of season he's going to have. He has a lot of talent. And also they picked up Raheem Mostert from Miami. So, they have the potential for a pretty decent backfield if just based on the talent. Um, and of course Brock Bowers, who had a great year and is probably going to be one of the up and coming uh, powerhouse tight ends if he stays healthy. Of course, Brock Bowers has potential to be a very, very good tight end in this league. So they have some weapons there. They're a bit light on in the wide receiver room is not too impressive, but on defense, Max Crosby anchors a defense, and of course he's one of the best defensive ends in the league. So I think they'll be interesting. Pete Carroll's a real good coach. Chip Kelly's his offensive coordinator, so Chip Kelly usually there's a lot of fireworks in his offense. So those aforementioned offensive players, they're going to fit into the Chip Kelly system. Maybe if they do, they might be able to score some points here. So, but they'll have a tough schedule. Of course, playing twice, each team in their division twice, which means two games against KC, the Chargers, and the Broncos, who are all expected to be better than the Raiders. But I think this is a rebuild in progress, and I think they're going to do better than their 4-13, and they may show some flashes. Of what could be in the future. And then also, don't forget that for some reason the Las Vegas Raiders are always a thorn in Kansas City's side. Kansas City always has a heck of a time with the Raiders for some reason, particularly due it's just a matchup, stylistic matchup that Kansas City doesn't do well against. But I think interesting, from Brady to Pete Carroll. I think, there won't be I don't think they get out of the basement, but they'll be interesting to watch. I think I'm looking forward to tuning in some games for the Raiders. What do you say about the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously made the biggest offseason splash in terms of hiring a head coach. Uh, and this can be interesting because Pete Carroll, he's coming back, and I don't think he liked the way it ended in Seattle. I think he felt he was pushed out before he was ready to go. And it's not the first time he's felt that way. It's happened before to him. So, obviously, he brings the Super Bowl championship, so he's got a lot of experience that way. You didn't mention it, but he's got a big time rivalry with Jim Harbaugh. They go back from their days in the Pac-10,
Hmm.
now the
And
Pac. Well, what was the Pac-12? Although they're
and
coming back.
Yeah. And then speaking of coaching, I think like this division is stacked with legendary head coaches. Look at all the legendary head coaches in this division. I think is the most stacked for coaching. You just mentioned two of them, Pete Carroll and Harbaugh. And then take a look at the other two.
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned the other two, which is Andy Reid and um is you
Sean
know
Payton.
well, Andy Reid first. He's like up there with the likes of Belichick, and then you have Sean Payton, who's also won a Super Bowl. So every except for Jim Harbaugh, but he's coached in the Super Bowl, and he's won a national championship. So these guys all have won championships at a pretty high level. So this is a really cream of the crop in terms of coaching in this division. But in terms of the Raiders, like I said, it starts with Carroll, and I think he's got a chip on his shoulder. Does that transform on the field? I think they're going to be more competitive than they were last year, definitely. And, they're a little bit more sort of organized now than they were. I think the last couple seasons, they've had a lot of you know let's say the front office on like the stabilization in that overall team. Not surprising because Mark Davis is like the younger version of Jerry Jones, pretty much, right? I mean, having Tom Brady in there helps, but Tom can't play for the Raiders. Bringing in Geno Smith, I mean, I think he fits the system for Pete Carroll. The problem is you just mentioned it, Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly runs this sort of modified spread offense. It didn't work. I mean, it kind of worked a little bit, but didn't work long term successfully when Chip was the head coach in the NFL. He went back to college. He's kind of he bounced around in college a little bit after going to UCLA. He left it. He gave up on it and went to be the OC at Ohio State. So he's coming off a national championship at Ohio State. So he's coming with a lot of confidence in terms of what his offense can do. He doesn't have Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State as one of his receivers, but you mentioned one of the guys who I think is really, really good. And he was like a machine at Georgia, which is Brock Bowers. And he's a phenomenal tight end, right? I don't think people can appreciate how good of a tight end he is. He makes every catch. He's got speed. He's got size. So they have some talent. Ashton Genty, we'll see how his game translates to the NFL. He did play at Boise State, a lower, let's say a mid-tier Division 1, not high Division 1 level of competition that he faced against. And when he did face against a higher level competition, he really struggled. So we'll see how his game translates to the NFL. Geno Smith is a competent, stable in quarterback. He's not going to win a game. He's a game manager. So yeah, I think they'll probably be better just because of the fact that they've added some guys. Pete Carroll, in terms of the coaching, and they've got a better, I'd say, handle on a quarterback now. Um, but I don't think it translates to being like a playoff team or even a 500 team because I think they're just in a tough division. I was looking at the division today, and I don't even. It's like really hard to figure out who's going to win, right? You obviously get a favorite Kansas City because they're the defending champs and they've owned the division like the Patriots used to own the AFC East. So, but yeah, like I think they'll be better than they were. But are
Mhm.
they gonna? But are they gonna be like a playoff team? No, I don't see them as a playoff team. I don't see them as a team that's battling for the playoffs. I see him a team that's gonna surprise a couple people, but at the end they're gonna be looking for another high draft pick.
Okay. Well, next let's move on to the Denver Broncos, who had a very good season last year. The second year under Sean Payton went better than the first year. First year was kind of bumpy, and Sean Payton's got his guy, his quarterback, and Bo Nix, and he led Denver to a 10-7 record and emerged as their number one quarterback in the process. So how do you see Denver shaping up for this season?
Denver's an interesting team. Obviously, that it's good to have continuity. I think I heard the other day it's the first time Denver's had um, a coach and quarterback together since Peyton Manning and John Fox. And so what, about 12 years ago? So that's huge. That's a huge thing to have that kind of continuity to have your quarterback. And Peyton's comfortable with that guy. Bo Nix, like the other draft picks, like last year was where this year was very short on quarterbacks, and a lot of people kind of brushed over a lot of the quarterbacks. Last year, the guys were really, high end quarterbacks. I think they had like five quarterbacks drafted in the first round. So, and Bo Nix had a good year last year, solid, not great. They made the playoffs. They lost to Buffalo, but I think they're going to be in the mix again to make the playoffs. They might be on the doorstep of winning the AFC West. I'm not willing to give it to them just yet. But I think they're gonna have another solid season. I could probably go 10-7 again, maybe 11-6 if things bounce their way. So, but I think they'll be very competitive, definitely for sure, and they're gonna win a few games. It helps to play against it helps that they're playing against the Raiders a couple times because you know, but although the Raiders have had their number for quite a bit of time, but yeah, I think the Broncos they're gonna battle. They won't win the division, but they're gonna battle with K- I don't want to say San Diego, the Los Angeles Chargers, and for the second and third place. That's really what it's gonna be about.
Yeah, I think I mean, we both mentioned Bo Nix and Sean Payton combination and how that emerged last year. Their defense still looks to be really good. So I think it's on their strength of the defense that um, they're in a lot of these games. I I wish they had a better running game. The running game just is not very inspiring. I
Well, they
think
brought it.
Jake
They brought
J.K. Dobbins, but
Yeah, they brought him in. They brought him in, J.K. Dobbins. So
but I don't know. He doesn't look like much of a game changer to me. You know what I mean? So you're banking on the defense, I think. To win a lot of the games or to be in the games. Just because I don't see a lot of like besides Cortland Sutton on for their wide receiver. They're just a little light on playmakers on offense.
yeah,
That's what I think. So they're gonna have to ride their defense and they should be good, but I mean they got Patrick Surtain, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So, their defense should be rock solid. I think they'll be. I mean, they were 10-7. I just like looking at their schedule because they do have to play Philly, Cincinnati, so they got a few. They got a few tough matchups. Washington, Houston, Green Bay. Um, I think they'll be around the same. I'm gonna say they regress to 9-8, but that still might be competitive. It still might be good enough for a playoff spot. But I just think the lack of offense might they might not finish some of the games that they should. So with that, we can move on to the Los Angeles Chargers. Finished 11-6 last year, and a pretty successful year. And Harbaugh's kind of overhaul of the Chargers offense. He how he likes um, a power run game and power defense as well. He loves offensive line and running games and to be able to grind it out. And he started to, put his fingerprints on the roster last year. I think they drafted offensive lineman from Notre Dame with their first pick. So a very typical Harbaugh pick. So 2 years into it. Um, yeah. How do you think Chargers are gonna play out this year?
Well, I mean, Jim Harbaugh, what he does is he builds, right? He builds up to to a certain level. He's won everywhere he's went, so he's obviously going to build. He's obviously going to do that. Yes, he defines it like his brother in Baltimore: win at the line of scrimmage, run the football, right? And that comes back from his old coach, right? His old college coach and his old NFL coach. So Bo Schembechler is a power run football coach, and he believes in running, and so does Mike Ditka. He was also very much a power running team. So they build on the lines first, and then they work through, um, you know, getting their skill positions. But if they have a solid running game, which when you have a solid running game, it shortens the game, right? So you gotta. I always say when you're playing a high offense, high octane teams, you gotta shrink the field and shorten the game, right? And what I mean by that is on defense, you keep people in front of you, you don't give up the big play. And on offense, you run and you grind the game instead of wide open plays. So
Hmm.
that this is exactly what the type of team that Jim Harbaugh has. He's been going for it. I think they're in a very interesting spot right now. They have a really good quarterback in Justin Herbert. He's been very good for several years. His challenge is staying healthy because he's had a few injuries since he's played. They did bring in Najee Harris and Mike Williams, so that will help their offense a little bit. They also brought in the tight end in Tyler Conklin, who was a pretty solid tight end. So they are doing that, but they got some pretty tough losses on the other end too. They lost Joey Bosa. Is he past his time? I'm not sure. I still think he's got stuff to contribute in the NFL. So they lost Joey Bosa. They lost Asante Samuel Jr. So the defense might struggle a little bit, but Jesse Minter is one of the best defensive minds in football. So they're going to be a very tough team to beat. They're going to be contending, and if there's going to be a team to overthrow Kansas City as the top dog, it'll be the Los Angeles Chargers.
Hmm.
Uh,
Well,
right?
they definitely have a chance. Also, while we're on the running game, Najee Harris was brought in, and they drafted Amarion Hampton to kind of offset the losses of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edward went the other way. So I think it's an upgrade actually. Najee Harris and Hampton, their draft pick on those two other running backs. So, and I think Mike Williams actually announced his retirement, so um, he's stepping
Yeah.
down from the game of football. Unfortunate for the Chargers because he would have, been a
Like
welcome addition. Yeah, so
yeah.
they go with the Keenan Allen and then McConkey, who was actually kind of a breakout star last year at wide receiver for the Chargers. So,
I got to keep an eye on his Quentin Johnson out of TCU. Uh, he was a rookie last year, but I think
I,
he
yeah,
has an
wasn't it his
opportunity to
second year
be.
last year? I think it was second year last year. Yeah, he has a lot of promise, but that first year, I think
This
he
is
kind of struggled.
Yeah, yeah. So I think he's a guy to watch out for because I think He's got breakaway speed, and he's a pretty big, he's a pretty good size for a wide receiver. So keep an eye on him too.
And what makes me think Chargers will have a good year, and I think they will be better than Denver is I look at their schedule and uh, you know, they draw they draw some pretty weak teams. So if they play the Giants, they'll play Indianapolis, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and of course, we said they'll play Vegas twice in their division. So there's a handful of kind of weaker teams that they play in addition to the Raiders. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, they still got some tough games though. I mean, they got to play
oh
Philadelphia,
oh yeah,
right?
Washington, yeah,
Right. They have to go
Pitt,
to Dallas. They have to go to Dallas. They
Pittsburgh.
Yeah, and they have Houston at home. So the they do have their first game is out of the box is KC, and
Hmm.
and they played them tough as well as you mentioned. So they're like that first game. If they win that first game, it sets the tone for the season, right? Because they're at home, a chance to win the first game of the season would be very important for them.
Well, let's talk about those Chiefs since the Chargers open against them, and they're the last team left in this division for us to cover. And of course, they finished first last year, went all the way to the Super Bowl and lost to the Eagles. The 15 into Kansas City Chiefs, and well, I think yeah, I mean they're going to be a force to be reckoned with as usual under the Mahomes and Andy Reid era. Could it be Travis Kelce's last year or because he's getting up there now. So, um,
That
Chiefs.
depends on Taylor Swift. If she decides that she doesn't want to play him anymore, then he's not going to play, right?
Well, and as usual, every football player is one collision away
Yeah.
from retiring almost any position. Some are higher risk than others, but I mean, looking at the changes here, they brought in now they're bringing in Gardner Minshew as a backup for Mahomes. So pretty, at least the backup can play. Um, and they not much turnover, but another year older, and but the Chiefs are still a solid team, right? And still have running back Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, right? Xavier Worthy, Rasheed Rice, Marquise Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster. So they got a lot of quality. They have a lot of quality wide receivers, and in part because Marquise Brown pretty much missed the whole year, so they had to go out and acquire more depth on the fly last year, with Juju Smith-Schuster. So as a result, they have a lot of depth at wide receiver heading into the season, and of course their defense, anchored by Chris Jones, one of the best linemen in the league. So they are going to be a force, and of course Arrowhead is a tough place to play. So how you think it's gonna go for the Chiefs this season?
Well, until somebody knocks them off, they're still the best team in football. I mean, well, not in football because they didn't win Super Bowl, but they're the best team in the AFC until someone knocks them off. I mean, and there's teams knocking at the door, but they got to knock them off first in order for them to take that mantle. Mahomes had his worst statistical season last season, so that might be something. But you're right; they have a lot of weapons. They have a solid running game. Their offensive line is fairly is still very strong. They did do a lot. They did a lot of shopping on the offensive line and defensive lines in the early round in the draft, but um, yeah, I think they're going to be a very good football team again. Um, I, I'm until someone knocks them off. I'm not going to pick against them for losing the division. I still think they'll win the division. But they're going to battle the Chargers for that division title. I don't think they're going to go 15-2 this season. They won a lot of close games last year, and eventually
Okay.
those close games catch up with you, right? So,
Okay.
um,
Well, yeah. Okay. So let's talk about playoffs. So
yeah.
who do you have making the playoffs from this division?
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Definitely, I'm going to say that the Chiefs will make the playoffs, and I would lean into the Chargers making the playoffs as well. Yeah, I'm just gonna just check in here. Give me a sec. Yeah, so 14 make the playoffs. So um, uh, is it? You said three wild card teams. I did say three from the North, so you can only have one from the West. Only one wild card team from the West. So there's two wild card teams from the North and one from the West. But Denver is going to be battling with I would say Pittsburgh for a wild card spot, right? So they could get into it, but based on my picks earlier the other day, um, I'm saying two from the two wild card teams the AFC North, so that means at least one from the AFC West. So and I'll take the Chargers to be that one team.
Hmm. Okay. So I mean we agree on the Chiefs winning the division. I do not think they're going to finish 15-2. That's just a superb season. Even if they finish 13-4 or that's still still a
Yeah,
dominant season. So I think they're going to hover around the 12 to 13 win mark, and I do think Chargers are gonna maintain second place, and for me, yes, Chargers are gonna make the playoffs. They'll probably be around, they were 11-6 last year, so they might be 10-7 or even 11-6. And then I think the Broncos and the Bengals are gonna fight it out for a wild card. And yeah, last year the Broncos pulled it out over the Bengals. Yeah, oh man, I just don't like. You see, this is the almost complete opposite because Bengals got no defense and then Broncos got an elite defense. So I think based on that, I think the Broncos would make it as a wild card just based on I just talked myself into it because defense usually yeah, a good defense should beat a good offense in the NFL when they're both elite. So Denver should be able to eke out at least one more victory than the Bengals will.
oh,
And of
yeah.
course the Raiders bringing up the rear.
I mean, I think we're in agreement on the order. It's just a matter of who gets in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I was just checking that, last year there was a lot of close games in which Kansas City pulled out towards the end of the games, the end of the game. So,
Yeah.
um,
Which is like 15-2 is impressive. And sometimes Kansas City does it, but it's a sign of a veteran team, right? That they were trying to conserve a little bit for that three-peat and sometimes doing just enough to win, not overexerting themselves. Actually, they were kind of a bettor's nightmare because if you bet on them, they rarely covered last year because they, like you said, so many close games. But yeah,
yeah, no,
they were 8-0 at home, and they will probably be strong at Arrowhead again. So
well, they're always very good at home, right? I mean,
yeah,
like Arrowhead's a tough place to play. Um, they've had some, they can get some bad weather there, but it's just a tough place to play. Even when the Chiefs aren't good as a football team, which has been a long time, but when they're not good, they still are tough to play at Arrowhead. They still come up and bite a few teams when they come to the stadium. So
yeah,
I agree with you on the records. Probably I think 13-4. They don't win a couple of those close games this year that they won last year, but they're going to be they'll definitely be a team again looking to get to the Super Bowl again. It's very hard, and they're the hunted. right? But they know how to deal with being the hunted.
Right. Okay. Well, that does it for the AFC West for tonight. And like to thank D-Dog for joining us and breaking down the AFC West. Thanks, D-Dog.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
And we'll see you for another episode and another division that we're going to break down. Bye, everybody.